everybody, Miss Criddle here, and welcome to this week's Tinker Tuesday video for Candy Science. Before we get started, let's go over the things you should have gotten from us and the things you should prepare at home. So here's the bag you could have picked up from the library. Inside you'll find a balloon, 2 marshmallows, a box of Nerds, 3 or 4 gummy worms, and 4 or 5 pieces of candy corn. Some of the things you'll need from your own house are some cups or shallow bowls, water, salt, granulated sugar, and some kind of cooking oil. I use vegetable oil, but it doesn't matter what kind. Some kind of soda pop. I've got Diet Coke. It doesn't matter. Some spoons, and lastly, some paper and either a marker or pen to write things down with. Let's go ahead and get started. The first experiment we're going to do involves our candy corn. You're going to need your cups or shallow bowls, water, salt, sugar, and oil. What we're going to be doing is throwing our candy corn into a cup or a bowl with each of these different types of liquids and seeing how the candy corn reacts to those different liquids. So we need to put water in one, oil, and whatever you want in the third. You could use vinegar, you could use salt water. I'm going to do some soda. And my cups all look really different, but yours might look sort of similar. So go ahead and take your paper and your marker and label what's in each cup. And now we're going to go ahead and drop a piece of candy corn into each of our liquids. This experiment is going to take a while. So what we're going to do is put these off to the side and move on to another one. But before we do that, what do you think will happen? Which liquid do you think will dissolve the candy corn the fastest? Why do you think that's the one that will? Do you think any of the liquids won't dissolve it at all? All sorts of cool things. And of course, you can do more than 3 liquids. You could use milk, vinegar, oil, sugar water, salt water, any liquid you can think of that your parents say is safe to use, you can go ahead and drop one of your pieces of candy corn in. And we'll come back to that in an hour. All right, our next experiment is going to involve our gummy worms. Instead of dissolving like our candy corn, we're going to be looking at the process of osmosis. That's your vocabulary word. Go see what that means, huh? But before you even look it up, I'm just going to show you. So you're going to need your 3 cups or shallow bowls, and go ahead and pour some water into each one. One of them we're going to leave as just plain water. In one of them, we're going to add some salt. So go ahead and pour some salt in there and stir it in. I'm going to do about a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon. I didn't put that much water. And in our 3rd cup, we're going to add sugar. These cups definitely look similar, so we have to make sure we take our paper and our markers and we label these cups too. Next, take 3 of your gummy worms and put 1 gummy worm in each cup. You may notice that you have more gummy worms than you have cups. That's because I gave you one to eat. All right, we're going to let this sit for about 30 minutes. But before we do that, go ahead and tell me what you think is going to happen. We have 3 cups with similar but still very different liquids inside: water, salt water, and sugar water. Do you think all 3 gummy worms are going to react the same way to the liquid? Or do you think they're going to be different? What do you think is going to happen in each cup? And why do you think that? Go ahead and think about that while we move on to our next experiment. All right, for our next experiment, we are going to blow up a balloon using the soda. So what you're going to need for this one is your 20-ounce soda, your balloon, and your packet of Nerds. First thing you need to do is pour your Nerds into your balloon. This could be tricky, so you may want a second pair of hands to help, or a funnel or something. Once you've got most of your Nerds in there, go ahead and open your can of Coke. The next part's a little tricky. You need to get the mouth of your balloon over the mouth of your Coke without pouring any of the nerds inside. And you want to make sure that seal is nice and tight. Are you ready? Next, you're going to lift the balloon up so all the nerds fall into the Coke. Hopefully I don't make a big mess. Oh, I popped a little hole in mine, so I'm having to hold it kind of closed. But it is working, isn't it? And since mine has a hole in it, it's gonna deflate, but that's okay. So that was pretty cool, but now the question is, why did that work? What do you think happens between the candy and the soda to make the balloon fill with air? Do you think any candy would work in the balloon, or does it have to be a certain kind of candy? What are some other candies that you think would work? Why do you think those candies work? All sorts of good questions for us to think about while I clean up the mess I just made. All right, our next experiment is one of my favorites. We are going to microwave marshmallows. All right, first what we're going to do is take one microwave safe plate or a paper towel or something like that and put your marshmallow on it. We're gonna microwave that marshmallow for about 10 seconds. But before we do that, do you know what happens when you microwave a marshmallow? If you don't, what do you think is gonna happen? What is a marshmallow made of? It's all soft and squishy. We know it's got sugar in it, right? It's mostly just water and sugar and little air bubbles. So what do you think is gonna happen when we heat all that up in the microwave? So we're not gonna do very long. Again, we're gonna do 10 seconds. Our marshmallow got huge. It's still pretty soft though. It's melty a little bit of it came off on my fingers. Why do you think that happened? Do you think the heat warmed up all the water until it tried to evaporate into liquid and pushed everything out a little bit? Maybe so, right? This time, actually, you know what, before we even move on, take a bite of that marshmallow. Does it still taste like marshmallow? No. I feel like I need a graham cracker and some chocolate, right? All right, now we're gonna take our second marshmallow, and we're gonna do it for a longer time. We're gonna do 20 seconds. What do you think is gonna happen when we heat our marshmallow for twice as long? Maybe 25. Oh man, it's huge. It got even bigger. At least twice as big as the other one. Let's go ahead and touch it. Well, it feels a little bit different. Smells a little different too. What does it smell like? Still tastes pretty good though. So it seems like the longer we heated our marshmallow, the bigger it got. But I bet if we had another marshmallow and we did it for even longer, we might burn it. I'm not sure though. That was our marshmallow experiment. I'm gonna go eat these. And then we'll check on our gummy worms. Okay, you guys, I know I said we were gonna check on our gummy worms next, but when I looked at our candy corn, it had to be now because this is great. So they've been sitting for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I want us to take a look at how things have gone. Remember you made your predictions about which one was going to dissolve first. Let's check on the water. First, take a look. The water isn't even clear anymore. It's orange. That's crazy. And do you see the remains of our candy corn right there? That's it. That's all that's left. It's almost completely dissolved after 1 hour. Now let's look at the oil. Did you think it was going to dissolve or not? Because I don't think it did at all. There's our candy corn. Oh yeah, I could rinse that off and just eat it. It looks just fine. And lastly, our soda. You're thinking, Miss Criddle, I can't see in there. Maybe it's fine. Completely dissolved. There's no candy corn left in there, although you can kind of see the remnants floating on the top, right? So in 1 hour and 15 minutes, we completely dissolved our candy corn in soda and in water, and the oil didn't dissolve at all. If you used any different liquids like milk or vinegar or anything else, tell me how they did. How much did they dissolve? More or less than water? More or less than oil? Let me know. So is that what you expected from our candy corn? Did you think that the water in the soda would dissolve the candy corn just as much? I was a little bit surprised by it. I was also kind of surprised that the oil didn't dissolve it at all. So why do you think that is? What in our candy corn reacted with water just as much as acidic soda? Something to think about. And now, for real this time, it's time to check on our gummy worms. All right, friends, now it is time to take a look at our gummy worms. They have been sitting for about an hour and a half, and we're going to take a look and see how they did in their different liquids. So our first one is water. Let me pull him out. So our water is our orange and green. Our second is salt, our blue and red. Oh, look, I already see a big difference between those two. And our last one is sugar water. Oh yeah, look at that. See, do you see the difference between our three gummy worms right there? If you look, our saltwater worm looks exactly the same as when we put him in. But our plain water and our sugar water both look like they got a lot fatter. They expanded with the water. They also lost some of their shape a little bit. That's because when we put them in the water, they absorbed some of that water into the candy and made them just get a little bit bigger. And the salt water, of course, didn't absorb very well. It's the same reason we can't stay hydrated by drinking our salt water, right? If you tried any different liquids aside from water, salt water, and sugar water, let us know how they did with your gummy worms. So is that the reaction you expected from our gummy worms? Did you expect for two of them to get big and fat and swell up and one of them to stay exactly the same? I thought it was a pretty neat experiment. And that was the last experiment I had for you today. I hope you really enjoyed our candy science video, and we'll see you next week. Bye! Ooh, tastes like nerds. Wonder why.